doubles and coffee, Stuart Richard Young cannot be Prime Minister. Forget politics, forget PNM, forget UNC. Stuart Richard Young is not only pathological, he's a complete blithering idiot. The man is not intelligent. His brain has not developed to be a prime minister with so much power. You have to have developed your cognitive skills. You have to be able to understand information, be creative, and to implement policies to impact the lives of people. Being a prime minister is an awesome responsibility. This is why a bully could never be a prime minister, should never be a prime minister. Because while you were in your formative years, you were studying to develop your muscles to bully others, to bully nerds, because the nerds who were studying the books were making you feel bad. You had low self-esteem, and therefore you didn't develop your brain, you didn't develop your intelligence. Last night in San Fernando, Stuart Richard Young gets up to make the feature address as, I can't say it, as Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And all he could do is concoct, after discussion, after getting advice. He probably got advice from Vishnu Danpal. And Vishnu Danpal are coming to ask you some questions just now. Are you a chronic gambler? And people put this in your mind. Could you have a chronic gambler in charge of the Cheji, as Prangalang used to say? Think about it. That is like putting a chronic drug abuser in charge of the drug cabinet and giving him the key. But that's not my point here today. Stuart Richard Young gets up and says that KAMLA Bisesa and the UNC, the only way that they could implement the policies that KAMLA wants to implement to help poor people, to eradicate poverty, to improve healthcare, to provide gate, to provide education opportunities, to implement policies to uplift the lives of the citizens. The only way KAMLA could do that is to devalue the dollar and to borrow from the IMF. Now, let me just take this from so many different angles. First and foremost, for a man to not understand that when you spending $60 to $65 billion per year, that is a lot of money. And therefore, the simple first difference between KAMLA Bisesa and the UNC and Stuart Richard Young and the PNM is a distribution, a redistribution of resources. So KAMLA Bisesa, first of all, in her heart, in her mind, in her soul, believes that the money, the taxpayers' money, belong to the people and should be distributed amongst the people to the benefit of the people. This is a clear difference between Keith Christopher Rowley and Stuart Richard Young. They believe in a new society where you, the people, must be weaned off of your money. So first and foremost, with the exact same budget, KAMLA Bisesa would be able to implement her policies just based on redistribution of resources rather than recusals. Stuart Richard Young believes that the taxpayer money is for his family, his brother company, his father, and for the recusals of the ministers and those around. The billions of dollars, KAMLA believes the billions of dollars are for you, for your children, for poor people, for baby milk grant, for children life fund, for good medicine, for improved CDAP, for improved hospital care, for improved wages. Number one. Number two, when you're not intelligent and you spend your entire school career beating up others and bullying people, you don't have the brain to create or to think about both sides of the coin. Stuart Richard Young is assuming that what the PNM has done is all that can be done. That alone shows that he's not qualified to be Prime Minister, because KAMLA Bisesa and the UNC will increase revenue streams across the board. Secondly, so for example, the energy sector, all of those oil companies the upstreamers will have to sit down and renegotiate with the intelligent people to get a fair price, not the price negotiated by Stuart Richard Young and Keith Christopher Rowley in 2017 that caused NGC to make a loss. This renegotiation giving Trinidad and Tobago a fair shake, a fair revenue stream will increase our profits and our revenue dramatically that can then be used to help the people. Furthermore, when that NGC price is renegotiated, then the point leases will move from a paltry 28% capacity back up to 74-78%, which will again increase the tax take because companies that had to shut down because of the poor negotiation of Stuart Richard Young can then reinvest and come back and open up. The refinery will be opened and over $2 billion US a year will be earned. Furthermore, downstream from the energy sector, steel and other ammonia and methanol plants under Kevin Ramnarine and KAMLA predecessor will be enhanced. Relations with Guyana that is booming will increase our revenue streams. Then we will begin to diversify the economy into tourism with Tobago moving up from a high under KAMLA of 96,000 international tourists. Right now under PNM it's down to 36,000. We'll push that up to 300, 400,000 visitors. Include the THA. Understand that the Tobago is a diamond that's underdeveloped. Then KAMLA predecessor will not put all our eggs in one basket. Dragon for 9.5 years that brought zero, while all of our gas, online, offshore, deep water, shallow water, the PNM did nothing. The PNM has put all the cards, all the eggs in the basket of Maduro and it flopped. KAMLA will not do that. That will increase our revenue streams. KAMLA will cut taxes to the engine room, the business sector, cut corporate taxes so that businesses will know that the future and the confidence in the economy, they will reinvest, employ people, increase production. KAMLA will create trade with our friends, not take us away from USA, Canada, European Union and South America. KAMLA will show a foreign policy that is loved and adhered to by our trading partners, which will increase exports and improve our balance of payments, create and increase the foreign exchange supply and create revenue streams. KAMLA will go to agriculture, agro-processing, IT, AI and create money. Stuart Richard Young cannot even think about this. So all he could say is that for KAMLA to treat the people well, she needs to go to the IMF. And then he goes on to say that the PNM saved the country from the IMF. The PNM is IMF, just spelled PNM. The only reason the PNM did not go to borrow from the IMF is KAMLA, KAMLA predecessor, in 2015 September, did not leave 3 days of money in the treasury like the PNM lied. She left cash at banks. She left 12.26 billion US in reserves. She left 6.7 billion US in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. She left Trinidad and Tobago at a AAA rating, AAA plus, which is high grade rating for borrowings. The PNM decimated that. They dipped in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. At now, 9.5 years later, they've just reached back to the levels that KAMLA left it at when it should have been over 9.5 years. Our savings for future generations should have been somewhere around 18 billion US, earning money, earning interest and so on. The PNM under Stuart Richard Young has no clue. So his entire speech is based on fallacy, is based on lies, is based on concoction. He also said that the PNM did so good because it didn't fire any public servants on the establishment. PNM, you fired contract workers across the board. 900 at TSTT, 75 at Ministry of Sport, all the IT officials and contract workers at all the ministries, over 300. Then all of them at, you also fired the guidance counselors and the social workers across the Ministry of Education. You closed down AFCL, you shut down contract work, you didn't renew contract workers, you shut down sports camps, you killed the economy by firing people just because you didn't go on the exact establishment of the public service. The public service is made up of those on the establishment, contract workers, and furthermore there are vacancies. About 24% of the public service is vacant. Teacher Service Commission vacancies across the board. So there were mass firings. Furthermore, before COVID, over 2,000 small and micro enterprises closed down. During and after COVID, another 5,000 people cannot get foreign exchange. They have to buy it on the black market. These things will not exist when you have an intelligent Prime Minister who understands how to create revenue, how to allow intelligent people to negotiate when there are no recusals. A Prime Minister taking 137 recusals and his family, only 3 of them getting $5 billion. That will not happen. There will not be one minister renting out his building for 23 million every 3 years and getting 38 million to outfit it. The recusals will be gone. The investment in the country will increase. The revenue streams will increase. The cuts in taxation will rejuvenate the investment. We will attract foreign direct investment. Over the last 4 years, foreign direct investment has been negative. People are taking their money and running from PNM, running from Stuart Richard Young, running from Keith Rowley, running from Trinidad and Tobago. An intelligent government will turn that around, diversify the economy, increase revenue streams, and therefore could reduce the burden on the treasury. This is also why the PNM had to fight down the Auditor General. Or they didn't understand? Because they move our credit rating from AAA plus down to BBB minus, and it was going down to BBC plus, which would have meant it's very hard for the PNM to borrow. All the PNM could do is borrow to spend on ridiculous projects and overruns, cost overruns across the board. Two car park for $264 million. A Ministry of Health building that the hospital handle medicine and nurses have to be carried on the back of orderlies when it rains, but they build a building that you, the taxpayers, have to pay $400 million for, and the building worth $220 million. This sort of graft and greed and corruption will be gone, and the money will go into the hands of those most in need to create opportunities to reduce crime. With the criminal element exploding, business costs go up with gates, CCTV, extra shifts, security guards, expenses that go on to the consumer. KAMLA predecessor will reduce inflation, increase agricultural production, diversify the economy, and therefore serve the people. It starts with brain. You cannot have a blithering idiot who never decided to study his book. He only wanted to study to bully Imran Khan, bully others. And I asked Dr. Avery Hines, were you one of those in CIC who was bullied? Talk up. Don't look for work. And to the next one from the COVID, Miriam Abdul Richards, you call in a meeting, you on about 5 boards, you call in a meeting at NIBDEC or NITCO, one of them board, for Monday, 28 April. Miriam Abdul Richards, slow your roll, because you really is a PNM, and the UNC and the coalition of interest coming to deal with you. So ladies and gentlemen, when you are voting for a Prime Minister, you had to start with brain. You had to go back to school. This Prime Minister should have been exceptional in primary school, in secondary school, in A-levels, at university, coming forward. That is KAMLA predecessor, a little country girl who top her class across the board, not beating up people in school and being a big total dunce for daddy to help you graduate. The man concocted an entire speech to people, and poor people in Harris, it's small, but my people, my PNM people, poor, I know all they had to do what they had to do. But try to understand what the Douglas are telling you. Stuart Richard Young represents the rich getting richer. 9.5 years, you in red jersey, did you get richer? Or did your life get harder? Did your $100, is it worth less now than under KAMLA predecessor? Do you go in the grocery and have to buy a little block of cheese rather than a whole block to cook for your family? Do you take longer in the grocery because you have to look at every price and everything because you have to stretch your money? That's PNM. PNM cannot increase revenue streams, so they concoct a fallacy. KAMLA will increase revenue streams, will change the distribution of resources. When KAMLA wins, everyone wins. When UNC wins, everyone wins. Bless.